Welcome to the League of Women Voters of Wake County Virtual Candidate Forum for the Raleigh City Council District A. My name is Helen Zimmerman, and I serve as the president of the League of Women Voters of Wake County. The League of Women Voters of Wake County is a nonpartisan organization dedicated to empowering voters and defending democracy. We encourage informed and active participation in government, help citizens increase their understanding of major public policy issues, and work to influence public policy through education and advocacy. As a nonpartisan organization, the League of Women Voters does not endorse or oppose candidates and is proud to continue our long history of hosting candidate forums. The views, opinions, and content expressed in this presentation do not necessarily reflect the view or policies of the League of Women Voters. All candidates who filed to run for the Raleigh City Council District A were invited to participate in our candidate forum. Outreach included emails, phone calls, as well as certified letters inviting candidates to respond and provide citizens an opportunity to learn about their views. Thank you to the candidates who are with us here today. The City Council is Raleigh's governing body, consisting of 8 members who are elected for 2-year terms. The City Council sets city policy, enacts laws, and adopts the city budget each year. The current fiscal year 2025 budget for Raleigh is $1.43 billion, an 11.8% increase over fiscal year 2024. The budget covers strategic plan actions. The general fund reflects a 13.1% increase to $732.2 million, covering the city's workforce, programs for vulnerable populations, and addresses growth and inflation. Other items this year are an alternative response program, affordable housing, and Dix Park operational costs. 3 of the city council members, including the mayor, are elected at large, while the other members are elected from 5 districts, A, B, C, D, and E. This year, District D is uncontested, so there is no candidate forum planned for District D. This candidate forum is for District A. District A candidates file to run for election within District A, live in District A, and represent District A. Today, we welcome candidates for Raleigh Council District A members, Mary Black Branch, Whitney Hill, and Mitchell Silver. District A is in the center north area of Raleigh. All District A candidates live in District A. Welcome, Mary, Whitney, and Mitchell. Thank you for joining us today. We will ask every candidate for the Raleigh City Council the same questions. Your candidate group will answer 4 questions. The questions cover a range of issues relevant to the scope of the council. The candidates are listed in alphabetical order by last name. The speaking order is: the opening statement will be answered by the first speaker. Question 1 will be answered first by candidate number 2, and so on. Before we begin, I'd like to verify with the candidates that they have not received the questions in advance. Can you please verbally confirm this?
That is the case.
Thank you.
Have not received.
Yes, thank you.
That is correct. I did not receive questions in advance.
Thank you very much. You now have 1 minute for an opening statement. Mary Black Branch, please go ahead.
Well, good afternoon. My name is Mary Black. I'm an environmental liberation advocate, climate storyteller, and artist from Raleigh, North Carolina, and I've had the pleasure of serving as the City Council representative for District A for the last 2 years. My work experience before being on council has mainly been focused on bridging the gap between Black and Indigenous liberation and climate justice while cultivating youth and women for intersectional climate action. I believe that liberation in the end of that climate crisis comes through centering people closest to the problem, closest to the power. And so for me, that has meant organizing, educating, and advocating at the intersection of race, climate, and the creation of communities that are free to envision themselves from systemic oppression. I've served as the youngest city council member ever elected to Raleigh City Council, and my ambition to lead locally has been continually represented in perspectives of frontline and environmental, racially marginalized communities, as well as prioritizing sustainable development for the city. This year, I'm returning to run on a platform that is an acronym for RISE. It stands for Rights for All Workers, Inclusive Community Safety, Smart and Equitable Participation.
Thank you, Mary. Whitney Hill, please go ahead.
My name's Whitney Hill, longtime resident of Raleigh, graduated from NC State and been involved in the corporate boardroom as well as for most of my years working with small business in the Raleigh area. I sort of take things from a perspective of the small businessman and the, you know, man out there on the street, I guess. I got into politics here more recently. I just saw Raleigh being on the wrong track and wanted to get involved to do something about it. That's why I'm running for city council. Family guy. I've got 3 kids that have all grown up and 2 grandkids, and I am very much wanting to just get Raleigh on the right track. That's why I'm involved with this. I have participated in the chamber ways back and done some things in there.
Thank you, Whitney. Mitchell Silver, please go ahead.
Hello, my name is Mitchell Silver. I was formerly the planning director in Raleigh, and I helped really guide the growth and development of our city to make it the great place it is. I went to New York City to be Parks Commissioner, and then when I decided to retire and call a place home, I chose Raleigh. I love the city. Throughout my 40 years, I've always helped every city move forward, tackling tough issues. I'm running for city council because I care deeply about the city and I want to address the incredible challenges that we're facing. We have to focus on our housing, transportation, public safety, our parks and greenways, and bring back the transparency and community engagement that was so important to this city. I want to make sure as I run that we create an equitable, sustainable, and safe city for all, and I'm committed to make that happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mitchell. We now move to the question part of the forum. You will have 1 minute to answer each question. The first question: we know that Raleigh needs more housing. However, we've observed that increased housing construction often results in gentrification. How would you propose the city of Raleigh balance the construction of additional housing units with the displacement of current residents? Whitney, you have 1 minute to answer the first question.
Well, I don't believe that we're totally tapped out on places to build in Raleigh. I think until we get caught up, we need to be very careful about taking down housing, especially affordable housing, because that's where we've got probably the biggest part of the crisis. The fact is that we need enough places for people to live. So as we're building, we also need to be preserving places until we get caught up that are affordable units. We just need to have a moratorium on taking down affordable units and build. I think there's a lot of slow walking downtown. Why that is, I'm not sure. And I don't think it's something that city council really has done a good job about eliminating. And I would like to see that slow walking taken down.
Thank you, Whitney. Mitchell, you now have 1 minute to answer the first question.
Thank you for the question. First, I want to say that I'm very proud that recently this year I worked with the city of Denton, Texas. I'm now a consultant to develop an anti-displacement strategy to focus on areas that are vulnerable. And so that is something I would clearly recommend that Raleigh do. Secondly, I want to go back to our growth framework plan. We had a blueprint for growth that identified places where density would go and other places that density would not go, and those neighborhoods would be preserved. We got away from that. We went sideways, and we have to double down and make sure we increase housing production. Lastly, I want to make sure we get back. There are two types of cities. There are plan-making cities and there are deal-making cities. Plan-making cities are predictable, and it shows you exactly where development would grow. We've now, with the last couple of councils, defaulted to a deal-making city, which makes development unpredictable. I want to go back to a plan-making city, make it certainty and predictable so people know exactly what's going to happen, but make sure we have that anti-displacement strategy, protect those that are in harm.
Thank you, Mitchell. Mary, you now have 1 minute to answer the first question.
To effectively address housing affordability and safeguarding naturally occurring affordable housing, or NOAA, and reduce gentrification, I think it's crucial to prioritize preservation and enhancement through policy implementation, utilizing tools like community land trusts to empower communities to acquire and protect affordable housing, increasing units from market pressures, additionally supporting initiatives that offer affordability and promoting mixed income developments via zoning policies can preserve the existing affordable housing stock. Enacting strict zoning regulations and development guidelines is essential to preventing the demolition or conversion of NOAA into higher cost housing. Also, stabilizing rents and preventing displacement will all come with that. So in close collaboration, I think we need to work with people like the Raleigh Housing Authority and other stakeholders in incorporating strategies into redevelopment plans that are happening, like we see what's happening in Heritage Park, downtown, and also safeguarding existing affordable units and expanding options for low-income residents. I think all of these are options.
Thank you, Mary. We'll now move on to the second question. We have seen an increase in crime, particularly homicides, over the past year. However, some neighborhoods are more affected than others. Raleigh police are challenged in dealing with this increase. What should the city be doing to help those communities that are experiencing higher crime rates? Mitchell, you have 1 minute to answer the second question.
Well, first, let me say that we certainly need to pay our police officers competitive pay to make sure we don't train them through the academy and then they leave for other places, and give our police officers the respect they deserve for being first responders. What I would do is I would focus on both prevention and enforcement. That's something we have to focus on hotspots. When I was commissioner, I literally had a police force of some 700 individuals that enforced park rules. By focusing on our youth, making sure they were engaged and had places to play and thrive. Actually, in our parks, crime went down. So this was a full-pronged effort to make sure that the mental health of our youth are great and healthy. We give them opportunities to engage, but we also support our first responders and even engage them in youth programs so they can connect with the young people. So these are some of the things that I would elevate to make sure we enforce crime prevention with law enforcement, but also give the police officers pay and respect that they deserve.
Thank you, Mitchell. Mary, you now have 1 minute to answer the second question.
Yeah, so I think it's important to root our understanding in giving every city employee, specifically our operational people, livable wages so that they can be a part of our community. A lot of our officers are not able to actually live in the community that they serve, and I think that creates another barrier of issues that we have. So when I'm looking at it, I'm looking at it comprehensively, of looking at creating workforce housing for people and programs specifically for city employees to be able to live in Raleigh. And then also looking at community safety as a diverse model. Not community safety is not going to work for everyone involved. I've been pleased over the last 2 years to champion an alternative mental health crisis response program, which gives people who are facing mental health issues the opportunity to get to the services that they need while lessening the burden on the police so they can focus on crimes of cars, vandalizations, and other things that we have going on that are increasing as the city continues to grow with 50 people moving here every day.
Thank you, Mary. Whitney, you now have 1 minute to answer the second question.
So I agree with what Mitchell and Mary are saying about increasing the pay of police officers so that they can live with dignity in the city. I'm going to take it, and we don't have folks peeling off. I'm going to take it a step further and say we don't have enough police officers. Things like cruising neighborhoods and having the police develop relationships with the citizens, that's not even possible right now because Our police force hasn't increased in the last 20 years. In fact, we don't even have the budgeted amount of 850. I'd like to see the police force go up to 1,200 people so we can cope with the larger population and larger area that they have to support. And that will enable them to do proactive programs to, like Mitch talked about with the hotspots and that type of thing. But we've got to have the people to do that. Right now, these guys spend all their time on calls.
Thank you, Whitney. We will now move to the third question. Raleigh is a city of neighborhoods, and we are seeing an increase in neighborhood concerns over growth versus overall city economic development. How do you balance the needs of those impacted while providing economic benefit for all residents? Mary, you have 1 minute to answer the third question.
Yeah, something that I've been really proud of over these last 2 years is really doing community and resident focused voices through the rezoning process. And so we've been able to really take all of these rezonings, and we were doing 13 to 20 a night at one point before we were able to slow it down and say we only want to do 8 a night, just so that council members have the time to talk to developers, talk to communities, and talk amongst ourselves to make sound decisions that are sustainable, that are community centered, and focused on building a Raleigh that represents all people and all concerns. And so I think that's the most important thing for me. It's been, balancing the growth concerns around how we need to grow the city while also listening to residents, because things are destabilizing neighborhoods. We've seen an increase in property taxes across the city, and we've seen people really struggling to figure out what to do next. And I think it just comes from listening and learning and utilizing those voices in the processes that we are doing as a council.
Thank you, Mary. Mitchell, you now have 1 minute to answer the third question.
My answer is very simple. We came up with a plan, follow the plan. We don't have to relitigate every issue and every zoning case. We have a plan. We talked about where the growth should go and where the growth should not go. We talked about where economic development should happen and where it should not happen. We wanted to make sure when I worked on the 2030 comprehensive plan, we had a predictable blueprint so everyone understood how the city would evolve over time. When you move away from that plan, that is where people get upset. And that's where a lot of the drama that happens at the city council, particularly at rezoning meetings. So I would emphasize the fact that we had a plan that engaged CACs and neighborhoods. We want to make sure we don't just adopt a plan, but we follow the plan to give the predictability and certainty that our residents and businesses and council are looking for.
Thank you, Mitchell. Whitney, you now have 1 minute to answer the third question.
Yeah, so I think the main thing is communication, and a big step was taken here to reinstate CACs, and that's going to take a little time to get those built up. And I think that was I think everyone's agreed that's a really good thing. And the communication through this, I agree with Mitchell that having a plan and working that plan is the most important thing, but then it has to be communicated out. Folks aren't going to know that, oh, hey, we had this 10 years down the road to do. And that's where the CACs come in and communicating this out, working out, maybe the fine points of what needs to be done. Right now, everything's being done in the back room, downtown. There's some communication out there, but people really don't know what's going on, and they really haven't been invited to get involved like they should.
Thank you, Whitney. We'll now move on to the fourth question. The City of Raleigh budget has increased 11.8% over last year. At the same time, many residents feel that we need to hold the line on tax increases. As a member of the City Council, how do you balance the need for affordability in taxes with the need to increase salaries of city staff and first responders? Whitney, you're going to answer the fourth question. You're the first to answer the fourth question. Thank you.
Well, I've got to ask the question, where's all the money going to? Raleigh has been increasing we've doubled in size since back in early 2000. So we haven't increased the amount of police officers and firefighters, first responders that we have. So where's all the money going to? In fact, if I look at the budgeting process, I can pull the city budget. It's very difficult to see where we're spending the money. We ought to be able to increase basic services along with the amount of tax dollars that come in. And with all the real estate valuations, I mean, I'm talking to people who their taxes have property taxes have gone up 40% and more. Where is all this money going to? We have a very our budgeting process is very difficult to see where it is going.
Thank you, Whitney. Mitchell, you now have 1 minute to answer the fourth question.
Well, the budget is the city's most important policy document, and it shows priorities. The first thing I would commit to, and I would not increase taxes that goes beyond the rate of inflation. We have to live within our means. That's point number one. Point number two, we have to seriously look at having higher density development in the right places. This council denied a 30-story building that would have provided hundreds of units and hundreds of thousands of property tax revenue every year. And we said no. When you say no to something, you say yes to something else. And what you're saying is, homeowners, you're going to have to foot the tax bill because we're uncomfortable with high density development. I'm going to have a serious conversation with the residents. If we want to keep property taxes low, we have to accept higher density in the right places because those properties pay hundreds of thousands of dollars per acre. And that's the kind of funds we can use to pay our police what they deserve, our workers what they deserve, and provide a quality city for everyone.
Thank you, Mitchell. Mary, you now have 1 minute to answer the fourth question.
I'm going to push back a little bit and say that I've been seeing property taxes increase within District A, and it's an area that as we know, is mostly single family homes. I have been canvassing a lot, and I met a woman who lives in the area behind North Hills. She saw her property taxes go up by $1,700 in a year, and it had to do with the multi-family, not the multi-family, but the very large, expensive homes that are going up around her. And she's lived in her home for over 30 years. The only reason why she's able to pocket this is because she has her children moving in with her. So to really look at it, I want to first state that I didn't vote for the budget this year. One of the reasons being because of the increase in property taxes that we're now seeing so much across the city. But I really think it's important to, look at the ways that we can expand our property tax exemptions and also work with our Wake County partners and looking at local assistance programs for people who are seeing increases in property taxes. But also to get to the budgeting part, I think we need to start a participatory budgeting process. And that's something that I've championed over council on the last 2 years.
Thank you, Mary. We will now move to the closing statements. Thank you to the candidates for coming today to participate in our virtual candidate forum. We recognize that running and serving an elected office is a considerable commitment of time, energy, and often sacrificed opportunities. The League, along with the residents of Wake County, is grateful that we have so many capable fellow citizens who are willing to step forward to serve the important duties as a member of the Raleigh District A City Councilors. You will have 1 minute to make your closing statements. Mary, you have 1 minute to make your closing statement.
Yes, so it's been a blessing to be able to run again for this seat that I have served with love and dignity. I've been a resident over in District A for the last 20 years. So I know this district. I know it like my heart. I know it like my soul. And I know where I think we need to be going. I came into this space to run as an advocate, not a career politician. I come to this space with grounding in grassroots, climate organizing, and people-centered policies. And I want to continue that work. It takes 2 years to really get your footing in the ground, especially being one of the youngest people ever elected in the city. And I want another 2 years to see what we can really accomplish here. Whether it's fighting for the rights of workers and expanding benefits, whether it's getting inclusive community safety models like the alternative response program that I've championed, whether it's smart and equitable housing solutions that really looks at homelessness as a housing crisis, or getting environmental justice and equity when we're talking about protecting our trees and protecting our water across the city. These are all things that we really need to be focusing on over the next council. And I'm really excited to be able to continue doing that, hopefully after the meeting.
Thank you, Mary. Whitney, you now have 1 minute to make your closing statement.
Well, I am an outsider running because I've looked at what's going on the inside, and it's been pretty bad. I think that city council has been really the dog that's being wagged by the tail. Our city administration has been controlling the agenda on what's presented in city council and what they're able to really do. Our budgeting process is cryptic. We really can't see where our money is going to in any type of level of detail to really know what's going on. We haven't increased our first responders here in 20 years. We need to pay them. We need to increase the number so they can do a more effective job. These are the basic things. In regards to housing, I'm really over with Mitch in that we need to have a plan here, or we need to take the plan that's there and adjust it.
Thank you, Whitney. Mitchell, you now have 1 minute to make your closing statement.
Thank you. I want to talk directly to the voters. You're looking at someone with 40 years of experience, from running an agency of a city of 9 million to being a town manager of a town of 70,000. Throughout that time, I've earned a lot of credentials of being named one of the top 100 urbanists of all time in the world in 2016 and 2023, and also named as one of the top thought leaders of the built environment in the world. But you did not know this. I started out as a high school dropout. I had never finished high school, and I worked hard to make sure that I had the character and expertise. I'm going to bring those 40 years of executive leadership to the council to help build consensus, to solve problems, and to be innovative to make sure we have a great city that everybody could be proud of. And that is why I am seeking your vote.
Thank you, Mitchell. As we end our forum, we encourage you to visit our website, vote411.org, to learn more about the candidates on your ballot and to find out the latest information on polling place hours and locations. Please make your voting plan for the upcoming election and encourage your friends and family to vote as well. Thank you again for joining us.